Many Floridians are feeling extra nervous about hurricane season with the tragedy going on in Texas. Eyes are on the ongoing recovery efforts from the deadly flooding there. The death toll in Texas has surpassed 100 victims, including 30 children. Officials continue to warn the public that the death toll is expected to rise as more people in the area are reported missing. And there are questions if the emergency alert system used in the overnight hours of the flash flooding were enough. In our state, the Florida Public Radio Emergency Network, also known as FPREN, is the alert system used in times of crisis.
The weight of the governor's veto pen is coming down on public broadcasting this week. Governor Ron DeSantis cutting nearly $6 million for public radio and television stations across Florida. In session, the state legislature approved approximately $370,000 for each television station and $100,000 for each radio station. The governor kept in place funding for the Florida Channel and the Florida Public Radio Emergency Network, also known as FPREN. In times of hurricanes and other emergencies, FPREN and public broadcasting stations like WEDU do not go off the air. The content is focused on information from first responders and emergency managers. The broadcasters that stand to see the biggest impact from the state funding cuts are small television stations who rely on the state for as much as 35% of their budget. Paul Grove, president and CEO of WEDU, had this to say.
We were very surprised that Governor DeSantis decided to veto us in the 11th hour. The most important thing was we were put in his budget originally. So when we did hear about the veto, we were very surprised. WEDU and Florida PBS stations across the state are saving lives through our technology. And that is hinged on the money we receive from government that allows us to bring even more dollars in for WEDU voluntarily.
FPREN and the Florida Storms app is something that we have talked about at the starting June 1st with the start of the new hurricane season, and the fact that that provides you with the weather alerts that are specific to the zip code, the county that you put into the app. When you look at this lack of funding, this cut, this line item, I'm interested to see, how do you all feel about this? Catherine, I'll start with you.
I mean, I think one of the most important points is that this is going to affect small TV stations, which typically are in more rural areas of the state. We're in a local news crisis. We have been for a long time now. And
when you say local news crisis, explain to viewers what that is.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we're seeing cuts to we've been seeing cuts to local news all over the place. I mean, everywhere from large newspapers and large news outlets, down to some smaller newspapers and TV stations have closed altogether. And so, there's a lot of reasons for it. A lot of it comes from, the internet coming along and there not being a surefire way to monetize local news online. And so, a lot of these smaller markets have, depend on the few outlets they have, like these small, public media TV stations.
Either the radio stations or the television stations.
And I mean, even look at, WSF. I know they cover Tampa and St. Pete, of course, but then they also cover some of the outlying counties like Citrus County or Polk County that don't have as robust of a local media ecosystem as we do here. And we're very lucky to have the Times and La Gaceta and Axios, if I may say so myself. But a lot of markets don't have that. And so I worry for those residents who not only are, yes, the public radio network, emergency network will still be there, but you need journalists behind the scenes, following weather reports, being out in the field and all of that. And so I worry for those markets, not only for their emergency, resources, but also just who's going to keep an eye on their city hall, who's going to keep an eye on local officials that are spending their taxpayer money, So I think it's unfortunate.
And logistically speaking, during moments of crisis, during hurricane coverage, the reporters are carrying the message of first responders, of emergency managers, relaying that message. Akash, I'd like to, ask you, a lot of even Republicans have been surprised that the governor would make this decision.
Well, for your viewers, I mean, this is not uncommon where the governor has something in the budget, then it passes, then he vetoes it. It happens a lot. It happened a lot to the stuff that we were supporting for the Hillsborough Community College and the other boards that I'm on. But it's frustrating for sure. But I would say session's back again next year. Early, it starts in January. This session was frustrating for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. You have over 160 days for a 60-day session. So I think we got caught in the political scheme, to be honest with you, between what was going on between the speaker and the Senate president and the governor, and it happened to a lot of issues across the aisle, both sides. So I would hope that next year that they realize and double up.
Patrick, your thoughts?
Well, the governor's vetoes this time seem to be very quick and without a whole lot of discussion back and forth. Normally, the budget cycle would allow them to call some legislators, ask them really what their pet projects were. I even know that sometimes people who are scheduled to get the money will get a call from the governor's office, and they'll talk about the project with the governor's office so that they can give good feedback to the governor. I think that he just needed to chop $600 million out of this and just went down the row and did it. And since the funds for public radio and public TV are on the chopping block in the federal government, maybe he just thought it was, might as well just duplicate it, as we're doing with immigration and everything else we seem to be duplicating from the Trump administration. So it's very disappointing. Programs like this you don't see on prime time on regular stations. And this is a good program. And there's a lot of good programs out there that are done on radio and TV, and it's just another paper cut to the media, the fourth estate, and this country, I think, continues to suffer with a weak fourth estate.
Justin, how can we get more young people to tune in to media and what's happening so that they do have a stake in the game when funds are being cut and when the local media, as Catherine has pointed out, is under basically shrinking, right, under attack?
Well, I can say that I have to admit that I'm biased in this subject because I worked here at WEDU several years ago. I also worked at WMNF Community Radio, and I love both of those places. And I also grew up with public media, right? Speaking of the youth, right? It's not just about the news, it's also about education and culture, and those things being provided to people who oftentimes don't have access to that in ways that other people might. And that's the beauty of public broadcasting. I'm just going to go on my diatribe. But no, but that is part of it, is bringing it into the fold, is having the funding to reach out to the youth who need it, who need that education, who need those shows that a lot of us grew up on that taught us kind of the basics of how to navigate life, and
appreciate art.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that, right?
And when you have that, and that's part of a robust society, right? You don't have a thriving society without that education and that culture being central to the society. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think without funding, you can't reach out and provide that material at all to the youth, and then you can't bring in the new generation into the fold of this type of learning experience that public media has provided throughout the years.